It's March 6th, 2001. We're in Storrs, Connecticut for the Big East Tournament final between Notre Dame and the University of Connecticut. UConn's Sue Bird is racing up the floor with the score tied and just seconds remaining. We're about to see the thrilling finish to a legendary basketball game. But before we do, we need to know what makes it so legendary. Who's here making this moment happen? Who's not here? And what this game means in a collegiate rivalry that's just started to get interesting. Let's rewind. First of all, real quick, it's a little crazy that we're even watching a basketball game right now. New England just got hit with a snowstorm heavy enough that the hero of last night's semifinal was the guy who fixed the ceiling leak that delayed the game. The governor of Connecticut issued a warning to stay off the roads this week, but a foot of snow wasn't going to stop this momentous game from happening. So let's come back inside and look around. Standing on the sidelines here are two important figures in college basketball. Okay, yes, those two, but also these two, Geno Auriemma and Muffet McGraw, the head coaches of the Huskies and Irish, respectively. Auriemma took over a fairly new, fairly mediocre UConn program in 1985 and turned it around swiftly. His team landed its first huge recruit, Carrie Bascom, in 1987, made its first Final Four in 1991, and broke through to win an NCAA championship behind superstar Rebecca Lobo in 1995. The following season, Geno's Huskies got a new conference mate, Notre Dame. The Irish had grown considerably since 1987 when Muffet McGraw became the third ever head coach of what was also a pretty new women's basketball program. Her team won the Midwestern Collegiate Conference a couple times in the early 90s and made its first appearance in the NCAA tournament before joining Connecticut in the Big East in 1995. The Irish had a bit of a breakthrough soon thereafter, winning their first March Madness game in '96 and making a remarkable run to the Final Four in '97. Since joining the Big East, McGraw's made Notre Dame one of college basketball's best programs and a perennial conference contender. That said, UConn's been kicking the shit out of them the whole time. Almost. This is where I'll draw your attention to two related things here. Even though we are in UConn's Gampel Pavilion, host of this whole Big East tournament, the Huskies are wearing their road blue uniforms. That's because they're technically the away team. They're the 2 seed, and Notre Dame, the historically inferior program, is number 1. Why? Well, back in January of this year, number 1 ranked UConn met number 3 ranked Notre Dame in South Bend. 2 of the Irish's senior stars, Kelly Seaman and Ruth Riley, were injured, but they played and played brilliantly. Fellow senior Niele Ivey picked the Huskies apart with 10 assists and played stout enough defense that UConn's shooters couldn't exploit Notre Dame's signature 2-3 zone. UConn's own senior stars just couldn't carry their team as far as Notre Dame's. Not this time around. Svetlana Abrosimova led the team in scoring, but SHEA Ralph, an All-American the prior season and the team's leader, had one of her worst performances and got benched in the second half. The Irish came out on top against the nation's top-ranked team, their first ever win against UConn in 12 tries, and it wasn't close. It also wasn't the only event shaking up the rankings that night. While the Irish were making their breakthrough, the number 2 team in the country, Tennessee, lost the best player in the country, TAMIKA, to a torn ACL, and lost their chances of contending in the process. So yeah, these aren't just the 2 best teams in the conference, these are the numbers 1 and 2 teams in the entire nation, just not in the order you'd usually expect. That's why the Huskies are wearing road jerseys in their home arena. Clearly, this game is going a lot better for UConn than that prior one, but interestingly enough, those senior leaders of the team aren't here. Svetlana Abrosimova leads the team in scoring, but she's not on the floor. Just a few weeks after the Notre Dame game, UConn fell to the catchings list Tennessee, their only other loss of the season. Even worse, they caught the injury bug. Abrosimova went down with pain in her foot that was later revealed to be a torn ligament. Surgery would end her season and her college basketball career. So the number 1 option isn't available. She's on the sideline in street clothes. SHEA Ralph isn't here either. Ralph's excellent collegiate career has been interrupted by knee injuries. She was one of the best freshmen in the country in 1997, but tore her ACL during the NCAA tournament. A second ACL tear forced Ralph to redshirt the entire 97-98 season. But Ralph was brilliant as a junior, and though she hasn't always matched that performance as a senior, she's had a huge impact on this game.
Big 3 from SHEA.
Ralph dominated a big portion of the first half, snatching steals atop UConn's pressing defense and finishing repeatedly to build a Husky lead. Ralph looked like she would be the hero of an easy Connecticut win until this.
SHEA Ralph, oh goodness. Oh no.
From that reaction, everyone instantly knew this was another ACL tear. Ralph refuses to stay in the locker room, but she definitely can't help her team on the floor right now. So the Huskies are missing their two best seniors, but one senior remains, and she's been important against the toughest matchup on the floor. Though UConn controlled most of this game, Notre Dame's 6'5" star, Ruth Riley, has been unstoppable. She's mostly gotten to face single coverage, and that lone defender, the smaller Asia Jones, just couldn't hang in the first half. Jones played great on offense, but this was just too much for her to handle. Senior Kelly Schumacher barely played in the first half, but the 6'5" center got the start here in the second, and she's held her own against Riley. It's been a fun matchup, pretty chippy. But down the stretch, even Schumacher couldn't hang. UConn held a lead in the final minute, but Riley cooked Schumacher on the right block to cut it to 1, then used the same move to bait Schumacher into a foul, hitting one of 2 free throws to tie it up with 5 seconds to go. So, who on UConn is going to break this tie? There's yet another option that they would love to have here, but who isn't on the floor. Diana Taurasi might be the most exciting freshman in the country. She might be one of the most exciting basketball prospects ever. And she's had a big night, hitting 4 crucial threes to punish that Notre Dame zone. Even though she hasn't had her best shooting performance overall, Taurasi's been a major factor, and she'd be a great candidate to pull up for this final shot. But Taurasi's also been in foul trouble all night, and with just over a minute left and UConn flashing a zone defense of their own, Taurasi stepped in to draw a charge against Seaman, but didn't get the call. She fouled out. So no Taurasi. What about Swin Cash? Cash is the team's second leading scorer behind the injured Abrosimova, but tonight has been brutal. She's been scrapping and pulling down boards, but the shots simply will not fall against the huge Irish frontcourt. So Cash isn't thinking bucket here. She's here to assist, and this quick screen before Schumacher even inbounds the ball shouldn't be ignored. It's a key play to help build a head of steam for another junior, Sue Bird. Without Abrosimova and now without Ralph, Bird is the veteran leader on the floor. She's been here before. After missing most of her freshman year with a torn ACL, Bird was a key underclassman contributor to the 2000 UConn team that won the Big East and eventually the national championship. But she is hurting badly. 2 days ago, in UConn's quarterfinal win against Boston College, Bird began to suffer lower back spasms. She sat out the entire semifinal win against Rutgers and spent last night hooked up to electric stimulation. And it's been a roller coaster of an outing for Bird. She's made some unforced errors and gotten screamed at by Gino. She's been one of the few UConn players to succeed against the zone, even when guarded by the tenacious Ivy. She's missed some ill-advised shots, but hit some amazing ones, like this buzzer beater from almost midcourt to end the first half. Bird hit the shot that put UConn up 3 with a minute to go.
An even bigger 3 by Sue Bird!
Then she committed the careless turnover that gave the Irish the ball back to tie it.
Bird loses it! A rare turnover for Sue Bird! She's trying to say it was knocked out.
But all that matters right now is what's about to happen. This next, potentially final moment. 2 senior leaders of this team are too hurt to be a part of it. A third could only contain the opposing star for so long. A freshman phenom can't help because she fouled out. So this moment belongs to Bird. And this moment matters. It matters for what had, until recently, been a one-sided rivalry. It matters to 2 longtime coaches who basically built these powerhouses from scratch. We're weeks away from the NCAA tournament, but the 2 best teams in college basketball occupy the same conference, and it will take until the final buzzer for one to gain the upper hand. Okay, here we are. Welcome to a moment in history.
Still a chance for the Huskies! Big time! She did it!
Notre Dame did get their revenge just a couple weeks later. They beat UConn in the NCAA tournament and then won the whole thing. So good for Notre Dame. If you want to read more about any of this, check out this book, Bird at the Buzzer. It's a good one.